Calibration and measuring using the Gryphax microscope cameras and software from Jenoptik, Germany. I'm Bob Martin. In a previous video, I went over unboxing your Gryphax camera, installing the software, plugging it in, and basics of capturing an image. In this video, we're going to go a little more in depth. And for this video, I have set up an Olympus BX53 compound microscope. I've got my Gryphax camera attached here. I've got it plugged into my computer. So if you need to, you can go back and watch my quick start guide video and then come back to this one. We're going to come over here and launch our Gryphax software. And by default, we get a live image in our image window here. If I move the microscope around, change the focus, that's a live image. So now that I've got this new compound microscope and camera on it, it's a different model Gryphax camera than the one I used in the quick start guide video. So some things have defaulted back, and we'll go ahead and set those so you get a little bit of a repeat of what we did last time. But one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go out of DIC mode and into bright field. My background here should be a basic white, and it does look pretty good, but just to check that, I'm going to come over here to this exposure button and click that. I'm going to grab this gray balance eyedropper tool, and I'm going to come over here to an area that should just be white or neutral gray. I'm going to click that. So nothing really changed there. It was already very good. I'm going to go to expert mode now, and I'm going to set my black point at 5. This is just something I like to do. Makes the image a little bit crisper. And by the same token, back to auto, I'm going to go to effects here, and I'm going to sharpen the image just a little bit. Same reason, I just like for it to be a little bit sharper and crisper. Okay, so that's done. So I can go back to the IC mode. So mainly what we're going to be in this video is the File Preferences menu. There are several tabs or sub-menus here that we're going to go through. I'm going to spend most of my time probably in device configuration. That's where I'm trying to get to, but we'll go ahead and just look at all these anyway. So in general, what we have, the only thing that I typically might change is this this new feature in the latest version of the software where you can set your grid cell size. So if you're going to do any kind of grid overlay or counting with a grid, you can set the size of the grid and it will automatically scale once the system is calibrated. And you can choose whether or not to add the grid to your saved images. This is also new label background, transparent, white, or black. So you can pick if you want any of your measurement data to be on a transparent background or white or black. I'll pick white. We'll see what happens. So that is the general tab. Local camera. I really don't ever change anything here. You can see I'm using a Capella model camera this time. Storage options. This is your place to go if you want to choose a different image format, bitmap, JPEG, TIFF, PNG. I'm using a high quality JPEG image capture. Video format can be MP4, WMV, or WebM. Video quality, I might change that to high. And basically the reason you would go to this menu is if you want to browse for a folder to save your pictures in. So mine is in my pictures folder, and then a folder I created called Gryphax Images. Device configuration. Here we go. Jenoptik calls your microscope and camera, the combination of the two, a device. So what we're going to do to start with is we're going to create a new device, and I'm going to just call it a BX53 because that's the kind of microscope I'm using right now. It is a Capella camera. I don't need this. Rotation would be if the image was flipped from how I see it in the microscope. If that's the case, then I could rotate it 180. You can see what that did back there. But in this case, and with most compound microscopes, it'll already be correct. I have live and capture resolutions and various fast record options and things like that. But I'm not going to worry about that right now either. I'm going to come right on down to measurement tab. And this is where we can calibrate our microscope. So I am going to now remove my chironomid critter slide, and I'm going to put a stage micrometer on the microscope. You will need a stage micrometer to calibrate a compound microscope. Some of the Gryphax cameras come with a stage micrometer like this. The higher end ones do. This Capella camera came with this one, but some of the other Gryphax cameras do not come with a stage micrometer. But in any event, if you're going to calibrate a compound microscope, you're going to need one. So if you don't have a stage micrometer, reach out to your Gryphax camera dealer and they can help you. I've now placed my stage micrometer slide on the microscope. It's a little bit crooked, so this is a good opportunity to show you how you can take care of that. It's pretty easy. You just turn the camera on top of the microscope and straighten it up. And then you can lock it back down. Okay, that looks good. So in this scale, the finest increments in this scale are 10 micron divisions. This is a 2 millimeter long scale here behind this menu. I'm using a 4x objective to start with, so let me choose 4x here. And then I'm going to click calibrate. And I'll get a vertical line and a little magnifying box that helps me see where I'm putting my cursor. So I'm going to put my cursor right here. And I'm going to drag across, and I'm going to click again on this end. Right there. That is 2 millimeters, so 2000 microns. And then I'm going to click finish. Then I'm going to do my next objective. So that's going to be a 10x. Focus that in. This time I can't get the whole 2 millimeters in. I'm going to choose 10x here. Calibrate. So once again, 100, 200, 300, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 1,000 microns right there, 1 millimeter. So I will type in 1,000 and finish. So you're just going to do this for each objective that you have on your microscope. I'll do one more. Here's 20x. I'll choose 20 from my menu, then click calibrate. And just as before, I like to go, as soon as I can start to see the thickness of the lines, I like to go right edge to right edge. But you can go right to right, center to center, left edge to left edge. So I'm going to try to go right edge to right edge, 100, 200, 300, 400. Right about here, let's say. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 500 microns. Makes sense since we were at 1,000 before. Finish. And you can keep on doing this with a 40x or a 60x or whatever objectives you have. Now suppose you have two microscopes. Suppose you have both a compound microscope and a stereo microscope, both outfitted with Gryphax cameras. You can plug them both into your computer at the same time, and you can set the second microscope and camera up as a second device. So I'm going to plug in that Leica M60 that I used in the previous video with the Arctur Gryphax camera and show you how that works. So now I have both my compound microscope and my stereo microscope plugged into my computer at the same time. This is a really nice feature of Gryphax cameras and software. I'm going to go back to my File Preferences menu, and I'm going to go back to Device Configuration. And now I'm going to choose a new device. I'm going to create a new device. I'm going to call this one an M60 because I'm not that creative. And I'm going to choose the other camera. Now if they were both the same kind of camera, like if they were both Capella cameras, it would just say Capella 1 or something like that. In this case, I have an Arctur and a Capella, so for this device, it's going to be the M60 with the Arctur camera. And here we go. Looking at my business card, as in the previous video. So this image, if I look at something written on the screen, I've already flipped this to 180 because last time I had the Arctur plugged in, I had already rotated it to 180 so that it was correct because it's a stereo microscope it typically will be rotated 180. So that is now done. And once again, I've got all these various settings, but I'm going to come down here and calibrate. Now for a stereo microscope, if I don't have a stage micrometer, that's okay. I can just use a millimeter ruler to calibrate. So that's what I'll use here. I'll take my card off, put a millimeter ruler in, and this magnification that I'm sitting on is 0.8. So in my drop-down menu here, I do not see a 0.8. So in this case, I'm going to come all the way down, scroll down, I'm going to create a custom objective. And then I can type in 0.8x or whatever I need to type in and calibrate just as we did before. So here we go, millimeter ruler. I'm going to go 10, 20 millimeters. So 20,000 microns. Finish. And then my stereo microscope is has click stops or detents within the zoom that you can engage or disengage. In this case, some of them are always on. Ideally, if you're going to calibrate your stereo microscope, it would be great to have detents in the zoom range so that you have repeatable magnifications that you can calibrate and come back to. Here, you can hear this probably, those clicks. So I'm going to go to the next click, which is a 1x. And just as we calibrated the individual objectives on the compound microscope, we're going to calibrate the individual clicks on the stereo microscope. So there is a 1x, so I can go there, calibrate. Now this is a live image I'm calibrating on, so I can move it around and line it up if I want to make it easier for myself. Again, I'm going right edge to right edge because that's just what I typically do. So here we are, 10 millimeters or 10,000 microns. Finish. My next click is a 1.25, and there's one of those. I can do that. I won't do them all, but I'll just do a few to make sure you have the hang of it. Okay. So this again will be 10 millimeters, 10,000 microns. Finish. My next increment in my zoom is a 1.6, but I don't have a 1.6 again, so I'm going to come down here and create one. 1.6x, calibrate. I can get 10 millimeters once again. Okay. So again, 10,000 microns. Finish. So that's, again, how you do that, and you just go through with each additional click and you calibrate each one independently. So that is done. Okay. Now I have two devices calibrated, and I can easily switch between the two. I have my M60 with my Arctur Gryphax camera, and I have my BX53 with my Capella Gryphax camera. If I want to switch to my BX53, I'll just click this, and I'm back to my compound microscope. Again, a live image. And the calibrations that are associated with that device are listed here, my 410 20x objectives that we calibrated. If I switch back to my M60, once again, I've got the calibrations that are associated with that. So I'm now on 1.25x. Let's suppose I want to measure some of these letters on my business card. I'm going to choose 1.25x, so it'll be correct. So here is my measurement button. Looks like a caliper. Click that. I can measure straight lines. I can measure freeform areas. I can measure circles and angles. I'll just show you a couple of these. You can play with them. So let's say I just want to do a basic measurement. I want to know how tall is this letter R. So here we go. And again, I have my magnifying window here that helps me see where I'm putting my cursor. Click there. It is 2.486 millimeters. I can adjust my outline width of my line. I can adjust my font size if I want to make it a little bit bigger or smaller. I can unselect whatever measurement tool I have selected, and then I can actually grab my measurement number. I can grab the line itself. I can throw it away if I don't like that and I want to start over. If I want to measure inside this circle right here, and again, let's make the outline width a little bit bigger, and let's make this a little bit bigger so you can see it better. I can have multiple measurements on the screen at the same time. I can measure as many as I want. So there we go. Got 3 measurements. If I want to go back and individually grab these to move them or throw them away or whatever, I can do that. But let's suppose I just want to, now that I've measured these, let's suppose I want to just get rid of everything. I'm going to drag a box around all my measurements, and I get one big trash can in the middle, and I can delete all. So that's how you delete all your measurements. So now let's say I want to measure some things, and I want to maybe add some annotations, and then I want to capture the image with all the overlays. So I can do that again. Let's just make a couple of measurements right here. Let me choose a freeform line. I can trace the letter C or whatever, and I can get a length there. So I want to do an angle measurement. I can set one line here, and then I can set one line here. I didn't set that very accurately, but that's okay. And there's my angle. This button right here is for annotations. I'm going to go ahead and click that. Let's pick a different color. I don't know, I guess the blue color could be okay, but I'm going to go with the green maybe. And make that maybe a little bit bigger too. So let's say I want to draw an arrow to this dot over the eye. I'm going to pick my arrow tool. I'm going to draw my arrow. Oh, look at that, it defaulted back to green, to blue. Let's fix that. Okay, yeah, I can't see that very well. Let's try a different color. Let's go back, let's just use red. Okay, so there's my arrow. I'm going to make my arrow a little bit wider. And then I'm going to add some text. I'm going to click here. And I'm going to say dot my eye. Something like that. And maybe make that a little bit bigger as well. Again, if I unselect my button here, then I can grab any of these and I can move them around however I would like. So I now have some measurements, I have some annotations. I can click the record button and it will take a picture. It'll show me the picture for a couple seconds, and then it will go back to a live image, a blank live image. But here's the image that I captured that had those overlays on it. That's how that works. And to go back to a live image, I'm just going to click live. Now, what else can you do with the measurements that you have on an image? Let me unselect annotations, go back to measurements. You can have both these selected at the same time if you want to, or maybe not. So I'm going to go back to measurements, and I'm going to just make some measurements. Let's say now I want to take these measurements that I've made and I want to do something with them. I can use this reporting feature here, and I can pull up a table, distance measurements. So here are my length measurements, and here's some statistics on it. If I want one measurement at a time, I can just click it, and then Control-C will let me copy that, and then I can paste it into, say, an Excel cell or something like that. So that can be useful. Or I can export the data. It exports as an Excel 2003 XML file. For whatever reason, that's the only option that you have. So that's another thing you can do with it. I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to close this. So there's also, if I'm going to close this, there's a new reporting tool, Report and Statistics. This allows you to create a PDF with any of the images that you've captured and data and statistical data and things like that. This video is getting rather long, so I think I'm going to end it here. And in the next video, we will talk about adding scale bars to the image.